Hi there. I'm going to walk you through how you can keep everything organized, images, data, orders, all that stuff that makes volume photography actually work using the post-shoot scan workflow. So the first thing we want to do is come in here and create a project in hhschools. We're going to grab the data that we've got from the school of the roster information, making sure that we've mapped all of the columns for each of the rows of data in that spreadsheet. Once that's imported, then we're ready to print our camera cards, the things that we'll use to keep track of all the students at that picture day photo shoot. So we're going to have these sorted by grade, teacher, and last name because that's how they're coming down to the photo shoot. We'll page break it by class so that as each class ends, we'll start, and then the next one begins, we'll start a fresh page for each of those. So once that's done, we're also going to print off about 15% additional cards for any gotchas, any walkthroughs, anybody that's missing from that data. It's nice to have some extras on hand that we can continue keeping things organized. And then also what will come in handy later is the package labels. This will help us enter any flyer orders that we receive once we're bringing those images into the software and we're matching up those subjects, but more on that later. Okay, now we're back from the photo shoot. What we've done is we took, as each student came up, we photographed them and we just kept the cards in order. And what's handy here is we can just write a sequence number or something on there to keep them sequenced together. But now that we're back, we're going to grab all those images, choose that we're not bringing in any scanner data because we're going to scan once we're in the software here, and we're importing all those images. So once they're imported, we're going to pull up our match data screen so we can start scanning barcodes for each of the subjects here and entering in their orders. So we've got the stack of camera cards in front of us. So we scan the barcode that represents that person. Then those package labels, we're scanning each of those package labels to enter in those flyer orders that were placed by each of those. The nice thing about this match data screen is it can sit over top of the screen so you can see the images and work through them. And then the other thing to note is at the bottom of that match data screen is a little barcode that allows you to quickly move on to the next person, next image, and copy data from the left and right without ever having to take your hand off the scanner. But once you've got all the matched and entered, now we can come in here and we can cull down to best pose. So we've got a few different options here. You can mark as proof, keep only this image, keep multiples or several tagging options. The nice thing about this is all this information, all these images still stay within the project, but they're removed to the recycle bin view so that they're out of the way and you can stay organized for which pose you would actually like to use for the printed and digital files that you're going to be delivering to the schools and to the parents. Once the culling's done, if there's any of those blanks, those write-in cards, we can go ahead and key that information in there that's been missing. And do that for all those subjects. And once that's finished, then you can bring in those flyer or those online prepay orders. So if you're selling prepay online, here's where you can take all the orders from Imago and import them into hhschools. Again, using a similar CSV Excel file import method. The first thing it'll show you is any images, any orders that it was able to automatically match based off of a first name, last name, and B rank field. And then the next phase it'll move you to is any conditional matches. So those that we think are potential matches, but we need you to confirm to be sure. Once you finish through that, then it's time to start preloading those images. So what we can do is we can send those images off to the lab to start any color correction and knockouts that are needed for those images while you're still finishing up the details. After that, we're going to bring in any studio background supplied graphics. So in this case, we've got a couple for some luggage tags and some ornaments. Once those are applied, and you can change that by team or by group if you wanted to, it's time to go in and do some cropping. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to crop for our prints. So you'll see here the green box represents the 8x10 crop, and the 5x7 is those orange lines in there. And using that crop forward tool will help you move efficiently through all of the images for this project. You see that we've got some markings there to help you with your head size and placement so it's consistent. And then once you're done with the print crop, that will apply forward into the next items, which would be the service item crop, think ID cards or sticker pages, as well as any specialty products that are going to have a unique crop that would be different from that original print. So we'll go through each of those products there, see them rendered onto the backgrounds that they're going to be using. And then when we get into, this is especially handy when we get into the one by one or circle products, you can see that crop forward makes it easy to make one image adjustment and apply that to everything after. Then if there's any additional data that you need to apply to all the images, you can use that edit data field. And finally, it's time to create that package order. Here's where you can fill in how you want things organized, what kind of envelope you want to use, if that envelope should be open or closed. We've got a few options there. If we need to have these images posted to an online gallery for any additional download orders or follow-up orders, that can happen automatically. Applying any labels or inserts is another options you're going to see available for you in hhschools. And then finally, how do you want those envelopes sorted and organized when they come back to you so they're easy for you to distribute to the school? Once that's all finished, it's time to review that final order, make one last check to make sure everything looks right, and then you can click OK and submit that to the lab to be uploaded to be produced.